Hi Manny, this video is going to walk you through a review of how to simplify expressions. Hopefully some of this you remember from class, but I want to make sure you have these skills down really well before we try to do some more complicated problems. So like I said, we're going to review simplifying expressions. And really there are kind of three types of expressions that you need to be able to recognize and then know how to simplify. So the first one looks something like this, -2, and then in parentheses here, we have x minus 4. So when we see an expression like that, we know it's not simplified because of those parentheses, and we need a way to be able to get rid of those parentheses. And we do that by what we call distributing. And so I'm going to make a note. So when we see a problem like this, we're going to distribute. And when we're distributing, the operation we're using is multiplication. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that number that's outside of the parentheses and multiply it by both terms that are inside. So I'm going to do -2 times x, which gives me a -2x. And then I'm going to do a -2 times a -4 because of that minus inside. So a -2 times a -4 is going to give us a +8. And now my expression is simplified because I don't have any more parentheses. So the next type we have then looks like the second one here. And here you can see I don't have any parentheses, so I don't need to distribute. But what I notice is I have one term or one part that has an x here, and it's the only one that has an x. But then I notice I've got two numbers. I've got a 3 and I've got a -7. And that's a problem we know how to do. So all we're going to do is we're going to plug into our calculator 3 minus 7. That gives us a -4. And then we're going to add my 5x. Now that expression is simplified because I have one term that has an x and one that's just a number, and I can't put those together. This is called combining like terms. And unlike distributing where we multiplied, when we're combining like terms, we're either doing addition or we're doing subtraction, depending on the problem. So in our case here, because we had 3 and then -7 there, we were subtracting to combine. All right, then the last type looks like this last one where we have a fraction. We've got two parts on top and one on the bottom. And I want to simplify that so I don't have a fraction. So here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to take the both parts on top and I'm going to split it up. So I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at 4x over the 2. Sorry, that was a little, let's see if I can do that better here. It's a little small, but I'm going to take 4x over my 2, and I'm going to write it like that. Now, because this was a minus, I'm going to subtract, and then I'm going to do 6 over 2. So all I really did was take that fraction up and split it into two fractions. So right now it looks a little messier actually, but then we can simplify. I know 4 divided by 2 is just 2, and then I bring my x with, minus 6 divided by 2 is 3, and I can write it like that. So now this one is simplified as well. There's no parentheses, there's no like terms, and I don't have a fraction. So those are the basic skills we're going to need right now. So I'm going to go through a couple more quick examples, and then I'll have some that I want you to try before we move on to the next piece of this. So when you're looking at examples, you need to decide which of those kind of three skills you need to do. What I notice here is that there's no parentheses, so I don't need to distribute. There's no fractions to take care of. But when I look, I can see that I have two terms or two parts here that have x's in them. The 4 is kind of all by itself. There's no other number, but I have two x's that I can put together. In this case, I can do a -6x plus 7x. So in my calculator, I would do -6 plus 7, and I know that's going to give me a 1x. -6 plus 7 is 1, and I take the x, and then I'm just going to bring down the 4. Now, that's the same as just x plus 4, and we'd accept it either way. And the next one, hopefully right away you see those parentheses, which tells you you're going to have to distribute. So again, we take that number on the outside and I'm going to multiply it to both things inside. Got to be careful with signs here. So we're going to do a negative 8 times x is a negative 8x. A negative 8 times a positive 1 is going to give me a negative 8. And now we're simplified. All right, number 3, again, I think this one jumps out right away. We can see we've got a fraction that we need to take care of. So again, we're going to split it up. So now I have a negative 3x over a negative 3. I kind of covered it up, but you can see on yours, hopefully, that that was a plus in between. And then I have a 6 divided by a negative 3. So now I've broken it up into two fractions and I can simplify. Here, a negative 3 divided by negative 3 is just 1. And then I have my x. Here I have 6 divided by negative 3 using my calculator tells me that's a negative 2. So I'm just going to make that x minus 2. Again, I can write it with the 1 or without. All right, last one. Again, this is just another distributing problem, and I can tell again because I have parentheses. So we're going to take that number outside and multiply it. So we're going to get 4x, and then 4 times a negative 5 is a minus 20. So what I want you to do is try the 6 problems that are underneath this. Once you've got that, you could take a picture and submit it to me, and then I'll send you the next video. All right, good luck.